All right, Falcons, today we're going to go over how to design a file in Inkscape, which will then be sent to our laser cutter to cut on the laser cutter. We're going to create this example that you see on the left-hand side of our screen just as a practice, but you guys are going to have a lot of time to come up with some really cool creative designs, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with. So the first step, we're going to create a rectangle. Actually, no, the first step is to set up our document. So we're going to go up to the word File and Document Properties. And this is where we set up how big our material is going to be. So the first thing we'll do is set up our units. So display units need to be in inches, and then these units need to be in inches as well. For this project, we're going to use a 6x6 inch piece of material. Your keychain will not be 6 inches by 6 inches. That would be way too big, but that gives us an idea of a size that we might have lying around the shop that we could put in the laser bed and then cut on. So this boundary shows us our document. It's 6 inches on the bottom and 6 inches on the sides. So anything within this boundary is what the laser cutter will cut. So right now, if we sent this project to the laser, nothing would work or nothing would be cut out because there's nothing within the boundary, but we're going to change that. So the next step is to draw a rectangle. So I'm going to select the rectangle tool and draw a rectangle inside the boundary. The color of the line is important. So a red color indicates something that will be cut, and then blue or black indicate colors that will be engraved. So if yours is not red, the way you change it is by clicking Shift on your keyboard, or first selecting the shape, then clicking Shift, and then choosing the color red. If you draw a shape and it ends up having a fill, like that, the way you get rid of the fill is by selecting the shape and then just selecting no fill down here in the bottom left. So this border is going to be cut out. So we're going to have a square keychain, a rectangular keychain. Now we need to create a circle, which is how the keychain will attach to a key ring. So I'm going to draw a little circle in the top left corner of our keychain. And that's red as well. So that means that's going to be cut out, which is exactly what we'd like to do. So now that we've got the basics of our keychain, we're going to add some text. So the way we get to our text options is up here on the menu, under the text menu, click on text and font. That's going to show up on the right-hand side of your screen as a window with a bunch of other options. And we've got a lot of different font styles to choose from. So once we've got that ready, we're going to click on the text, insert text option. We're going to draw a text box, and I'm going to type the word raster, which refers to the process of, or the file type that our laser will use to engrave text or designs into our material. So I've typed the word raster, but you can see that the font is not very exciting. So I'm going to go over here and choose a different font style and apply it. So that looks better. And then I'm going to resize that accordingly so it can fit into my design. There's lots of other tools we can use or shortcuts to make things centered exactly vertically or horizontally, which we will get into in class. So right now, this word raster is going to be engraved because it has a black fill. There is no stroke color, but if we wanted to outline the word raster, so every letter had an outline, we would just make sure our text is selected. We would hold Shift and then select blue, and that's going to put a blue border around every letter. And that might make our engraving look a little cleaner or stand out a little bit more, but it's totally up to you if you want to use that option or not. We're going to add another text box down below here, and we're going to type in the word vector, which is the file type that the laser cutter will actually cut all the way through the material. So I'm going to resize that font or that text and kind of move it around in here, get it centered as much as I can. If I wanted to cheat or use a shortcut, I could select both text options and then click on Align and Distribute, which is going to be under our objects at the very bottom. And then there are a bunch of ways you can align and distribute text, but I'm just going to select this one, which says center on vertical axis, and that's going to make the raster and vector fonts line right above each other. For the word vector, we want to cut that out. So we're going to hold Shift after we've selected our text and select the color red. And then we're going to let go of the Shift key and select no fill. So we are almost ready. The last thing we need to do is draw one more circle, but this time we're going to put it outside of our keychain. And this is going to serve as a reference point for our laser cutter so it knows where the raster and the vector lines are going to line up. If you don't have this, sometimes it will cut everything out, but then the engraving part won't match up with where you think it should be. It will be off by a few inches to the left. So this reference point gives the laser an idea of where to start, and then everything else lines up just like we'd like to. For this reference point, instead of cutting it out, we're going to make it a blue line. So hold Shift, and then we're going to fill it with black. So select it and just click the black color. And that's what it should look like. So this file looks very similar to the example. You might notice that it looks like the word vector and the word raster are a little thicker lines. So the last thing we need to do before we save this, actually, before we do that, some of these font styles don't actually come through when you send it to the laser. So we're going to select the word raster and go up to path and change that object, that text object, to a path. And then we'll do the same thing with the word vector. So select the word, go to path, object to path. Now that should come through on the laser cutter software, and it will look exactly like we've designed it. So once we've done that, we're going to select everything in our design, and we're going to go up to Object and Fill and Stroke. And under the Fill and Stroke menu, we need to change our units for the width of the lines or the strokes to inches. And then we're going to change our width to 0.001 inches. So it's a very, very thin line. It looks like it disappears, but if you zoom in, you can see the red and blue lines just a little bit. So this is ready. The last thing we'll do here before we send it to the laser is save it. So go up to File, Save As. You're going to name it with your last name and then whatever the file or the project is about. So in this case, it's a keychain. I think keychain might be one word. You're going to navigate to your Documents folder. It will look a little bit different on the school computers, but I'll help you if you get stuck with that. So you'll save your file in your Documents folder, and then you can access it on any computer in the lab. So we'll click Save, and that's the end of this first part. So next we're going to go over to the laser cutter and log in on that computer, and I'll show you how to get it ready to send to the laser.